Good evening, everybody. My name is Kian Y. I usually don't speak this time because it's quite challenging, dinner time. So it's between me and the food outside, so I have to make sure I engage you all. What I'm going to share today is basically our experience at Diners World Travel in terms of club adoption. And what may be relevant to us may not be relevant to you, but I think we can all share and learn together. Maybe I can also get some insight on how things are done at our organization. Okay, so before I start, my role at Diners World Travel, actually basically I cover the HR and finance. So basically I manage the money and the people. And IT is a subset of my portfolio. So I have a MIS executive reporting to me, but I'm not basically an IT person. So if I do not know how to answer any technical questions, please pardon me. Yep. Okay. Let me start off by introducing my company to let you have a background of who we are. Okay, Diners World Travel. I'm sure some of you may have heard about Diners branding. Our holding company is actually a charge card company. We are the travel arm of Diners Club Singapore. We actually established in 1972. Basically, we are the number 2 travel agency in Singapore. And by meaning number 2, I mean our travel agency number is 2. So basically, we are the second agency that actually registered with SDB. So since 1972, a very long history. Mentioned before, we are actually a wholly owned subsidiary of Diners Club Singapore. We start out as a unit that actually drive travel spending, and we slowly grow to be a full-fledged travel agent. And we still support the Diners Club business as well, even today. On hand, we have around 60 employees, and we have 2 business units. The bigger portion will be the travel management company, whereby we actually manage travel arrangement for corporates. So we manage their travel budgets, we manage their travel arrangement and things like that. And we have a small arm that deals with outbound tours and incentive trips. So if you look at our setup, although we are part of a bigger company, we are very basically SME size outfit. So what are our industry challenges? Okay, as I'm sure you know, in the travel trade, it's basically a cutthroat business. It's very highly competitive. Why is that so? It's because the barrier of entry is very low. Anyone with a setup capital of 100K, they can set up agency. So you can see a lot of foreign players coming in, and they do compete with us. Also very well documented in the news, rising operating costs, rental went up, manpower costs went up, and we also face manpower crunch. Of course, recently with the restriction placed by the government, so we have a very limited pool of talents that we can tap into. And we are very subjective to natural disaster. I think this is part and parcel of the industry. Anything that happens around the world affects us some way or another. So these are basically our industry challenge, and that also will translate to our IT challenges. So what do we face? Lack of space. As in any organization, we know, as I mentioned earlier, rental is very high. So the amount of space that I allocate for my revenue generating units, like consultants, it makes more business sense to the business owner as opposed to have that kind of space to be reserved for IT hardwares or equipments. So we have this challenge of lack of space. Lack of budget for manpower, same logic. Place more consultant, you get more business. You hire more IT personnel, you increase your cost. So no brainer. Huh? Okay. High IT investment costs. So relative to our size, we cannot undertake very huge IT projects. So any projects that we come along, in terms of the initial investment and the payback period, we have to evaluate very carefully. And as today's trend, we have a mobile workforce. Everyone wants to be able to access information any point of time at anywhere. So these are basically our IT challenges. And that's where it leads to us to explore cloud computing. So what is cloud computing? Anyone here want to give a definition? No? Okay, I got this from Wikipedia. So cloud computing is defined as the delivery of computing as a service rather than a product, whereby a shared resources, software, and information are provided to computers and other devices as a utility, like the electricity grid, over a network, typically the internet. I actually personally like the next definition, and it simply defines cloud computing as it's simply a way to describe how organizations can take some or all their existing IT infrastructure and operation and hand it over to someone else, basically outsourcing. And that is what we do, okay? In face of all the challenges that we had, we decided that we really need to outsource it. And if you relate to the everyday application that you use today, actually most of them are actually on cloud. So you have the likes of Dropbox, Google Drive, Facebook, Outlook, which is your MSN account, Google Documents, YouTube, and Twitter. All these are already in the cloud. So you actually access it from the internet, and you store information, and you can access it from another location. So why actually cloud computing for us? When we look at this model, these are basically all the benefits that we actually evaluated. The first and foremost is that it's actually cost efficient. So with a cloud, if you pay as you go subscription-based cost structure, right, it actually requires very minimum initial investment, and that is very important from the SME point of view, as I mentioned about a high IT cost consideration. So it's also provide an easy way out. So because when we come to adopt new technologies, there's always risk, there's always uncertainty. You don't really know whether these things can work until you really fully deploy it. So if we go on the traditional method, you will have spent quite a sum of money building it, trying to figure out how it is, and then hopefully that you can serve the original requirements. But I think more often than not, you see that business changes very quickly today, very dynamically. So sometimes when you build that thing already, once the business requirement changes, there's a lot of challenges in terms of trying to tweak those changes. But in terms of cloud, it's quite easy. So if you go in, it works well, you can carry on. It doesn't, it's always a way for you to get out. The next thing is actually, in terms of deployment, it's very fast. Because most of the equipments are actually been set up at the vendor's end. So all you need to do is to negotiate the commercial terms with your vendor, and once all the terms are ready and all the specifications are according to your requirements, you just need to turn it on. So there's very minimum setup in terms of deployment. And the next thing, of course, is the resilience and redundancy in terms of business continuity planning. So due to the fact of cloud, the architecture is that the software and the data are stored off-site. So in terms of business continuity planning, it actually helps you in the fact that you are moving a lot of things off-site. So in the event of a disaster situation on-premise, you do not have to plan a lot of things that you need to back up on the off-site location, because most of the critical stuff that probably you need to continue during your operation are already in the cloud. Of course, another thing that benefits us in terms of cloud computing will be that it's easy to set up. A lot of the cloud applications are actually web-based, so there's actually no installation that is required. but sometimes you do need to install some clients, and that is quite easy to install, unless actually the training itself is drastically reduced, and especially on the technical aspect, and it's because the cloud provider already know how to already deploy the application. And then from a business point of view, you have an ease of cash flow, okay? Because based on cloud computing technology, the model is that it's a subscription based, so you pay as you use. You do not need to commit an initial investment, and that's free up your cash flow from the business point of view. So you also have a very predictable forecast of your cash flow that you then can channel to other business users. And last but not least, okay, it's also easy to scale. And you can actually allow your business to easily upsize or downsize based on your business volume. You really do not need to buffer for access, and this actually helps you to create resource optimization. So with that, right, this is how my IT department basically behaving right now. So once we have moved on to the cloud, it's basically on cloud 9. And that is very true, because we really have a shortage of space, and we have a lot of servers previously from the legacy days. So we actually try to first, of course, visualize all the servers, and we decide which are the applications that we actually can move to cloud. Previously, a lot of the time spent based on investigation was that, in terms of support, because of the email servers down, because of the application down, and also in terms of maintenance on the antivirus. So moving things to cloud actually help us to alleviate some of these challenges, because we are actually now able to manage it from getting more the expertise from the cloud vendor to manage it, so that my IT personnel can then move on to more business value added projects. So what systems are cloud for us? Basically, today I'm going to introduce two of them that we have actually implemented. First one is ClickView, and we actually deployed in November 2010. And the next one was Office 365, which we have actually started using since April 2011. Okay, ClickView is a business intelligence tool. When we actually wanted to embark on this, we have a challenge whereby we have no space for the server, and that leads us to think, why don't we put this on the cloud? So we look at the cost consideration, as opposed to buying a new server, allocating new space for it, setting up, and then we also talk to the cloud providers, Singtel, to assess, what would be the cost to host it on a cloud environment. In the end, the evaluation is that I think it's very much cheaper to host it on the cloud, because we actually can scale up and scale down on the requirements based on the data resources that we need. So we went ahead and deployed it with Singtel, and we signed up the Power On Compute Alertum package, and it took us about 2 weeks for the deployment. And with that, we have web access that any one of our staffs who have access to the tool, they can actually log on from the internet to be able to access to the data. So this is a very critical tool for us, because it actually links to our mid-office system, whereby we have a massive database that we actually mine the data for analysis. So this is how when my sales staff, when they visit the clients, with the connection to the tool through the cloud technology, they are able to understand the customer trend before they meet up with the customers to discuss on the plans. So with that, they can access from the office network as well as through the mobile devices like iPad or even iPhone. So this is basically how they work ever since that we have put the tools on the cloud. So thanks to the cloud technology, right, they can actually not work from home, but they can also work from other people's home. Yeah, but this is very important for them because they move around pretty much, the sales manager, and they have a lot of accounts to handle. So to have the data on hand for them before they meet the customer is very important. First, they give insights to them to understand the customer's travel pattern, where actually they are traveling, where they are not traveling, to understand why, so that we know why business actually dropped, and to be able to advise them of certain airlines that they travel to be able to negotiate better deals. So with these two being easily available to them, I think we see a higher level of satisfaction in terms of our customers on our accounts managers, which we have done a very annually survey. So this is quite a positive impact on the business. So the next thing from ClickView, ClickView was the first thing that we tried on the cloud technology. First and foremost, it was not a very operational critical tool, and that's how we started with cloud technology, because cloud actually is quite new to us as well. So we want to try, does it really work? So from the ClickView experience, we then move on to evaluate the next critical system that we're going to move on, because this system, of course, is quite commonly known, Office 365 email, but to us it's a very critical system, because it's the only channel, or I would say the most important channel that we have in our communication with our clients. Because previously we have people who do phone calls, but nowadays people mostly communicate from emails. And in our line of business, we have to have close interaction with our travelers, and because of we are dealing with corporate travelers, whereby a lot of CEOs are traveling for important meetings, so we cannot miss any emails in terms of the change of their plans. So we don't want to miss an important email whereby they have changed their plan, they want to travel now or later, or they bring forward their travel date and we reset and we do not book the flight that they want. So that will be very critical for us. And the challenge for us was that when we had the email on premises, first and foremost, there are a lot of maintenance that is required. We have the IT staff have to dedicate a lot of time making sure the server is functioning well. Downtime, there is sometimes because of the server breakdown, so we experience downtime situation. And more importantly, I think we also look at the disaster recovery issue, whereby we wanted to make sure that we have a backup facilities for email. So in case whereby our office are down because of disaster situation, we can still be able to access and operate and in close contact with our travelers. So we look at Office 365, and after evaluating Microsoft and on the capability, we found that with that we actually have first and foremost, we have remote access. We can access the email from anywhere, any place. And in terms of security, based on our own internal capability, we assess that they will have better security measures if we have to do it in-house. And of course, it serves the purpose of better redundancy, because now they actually back up the emails in different various data centers. So in terms that if we have to close shop at our local office, we have to shift to another location, we still can be able to access the email. And of course, ease of use, the email looks exactly the same. The user interface is exactly the same as when we have it on premise. And we also have constant software updates that is already automatically updated. So there is very minimum so-called maintenance or monitoring by our IT guys, because most of this already is covered by Microsoft. So this is what actually they do. Yeah, anywhere access, work together, easy ID and trusted service. And of course, in view of all those benefits that I mentioned, and we also are aware that in the government nowadays are actually having a push for cloud adoption. I mean, this event is actually organized by IDA. So on top of that, I think this is something that is very well documented. We have this productivity innovation credit, whereby you actually get back 68 cents for every dollar spent on cloud computing expenditure. So that is like a very steep discount the government is giving. And on top of that, IDA also have some specific schemes in promoting the adoption of cloud. I think in the travel trade, there's this call for collaboration scheme that IDA is promoting, whereby cloud providers, they can come in and get travel agents to sign up and build a travel cloud. I think it's already in progress, as I am aware, whereby travel agents now can then load all their content into a single cloud, whereby everyone will be able to see the content and able to sell it as and when. Right now, we need to have, I think this is more for the retail arm, where if we need to service a client for certain packages, we need to call different agents to get a code. So I think with the cloud, if the content is there, straight away a cost comes in, we can immediately serve the client's needs. So that is one of the great benefits that we foresee will come to us. So of course, the main questions that always pop up when we have adopt new technology will be security concern. So, but we did our internal risk assessment, and of course, looking at cost consideration, that's where there's a push to cloud. We come to the point that I think finding the right partner is very important in terms of security. We felt that third-party vendors actually has no interest in our data, and they actually have to ensure that there is sufficient security that make this model work, so that it is their business they're talking about. You know, they have to make sure that it works. And working with the right partner is very important. So that's why when we move out to cloud, we actually sign up with Singtel, because basically they are the trusted brand in Singapore, as well as of course our biggest corporate clients. So that's one of the reasons. But they actually did us a lot of favor in updating what is the latest technology. So they actually introduced cloud to us, and we actually try to use our BI tool, which I think was the first in the, I think for BI to be hosted in the cloud. So we tried that on the non-critical data first, and we found okay, it works, and then we move on to the email. So it is like a step-by-step process, whereby we find that we have much more comfort level, then we start putting more things in the cloud. Yeah. So over here, this is just a comment. In terms of security, yeah, correct. I mean, we always fear that someone else will actually hack into it to look at the data. But I think more than often, a lot of cases of security breaches comes from insider as well. So yeah, this is the joke about it. Cloud computing to us is the way to go. We are constantly looking at our comfort level for the next thing to be put on cloud. So we adopt that this comment that it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change. Any idea who's the famous person who made the quote?
Darwin, right?
Yeah, correct. Charles Darwin. Okay, and this is his face. Okay. Oops, sorry. How do I go back? Sure. Okay, this is the next quote. The technological race is never ending. We have to constantly be a step ahead, purchasing the latest equipment and the best software in the rapidly evolving market. Cloud-based model will give us the confidence of expanding our services cost effectively and with less risk. Any idea who made this code? Any guess? Okay, it's none other than myself. Okay, okay. This is my own perspective. I think cloud technology, I think today is already quite commonly accepted. A lot of us in our personal life, as I showed earlier, already are using cloud. So companies like SMEs, where you have a lot of cost consideration, a lot of budget resource consideration, cloud computing actually allows you to minimize your cost. And I think it's a matter of time whereby a lot of people will start to embrace it, just like in the travel trade. 10 years ago, online booking, online purchases, people are all very skeptical. Do you really want to buy things online where you don't see it, or other security in terms of the payment that you do online? So, but you see today's trend, everyone is buying things online. So I think that will be the trend to go for cloud computing as well. So what happens when everyone's on cloud computing? So this is going to happen. Yeah. Yep. Our friend up there will say that you should have been here back old days before cloud computing, because all the data are all in the cloud. Yep. So with that, yep. Thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.